Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you some best practices for Baldur's Gate 3's Patch 7 mod manager as requested by some people. I did a video on some issues that are common to the mod manager itself, and I just want to go over some tips and tricks to be able to get the most out of the mod manager. So I recommend a few mods. I really like the better maps and the better hotbars here. You can also toggle them so they disappear, which I think is nice, giving yourself more screen real estate for playing. Now, there are some issues that can arise with mods, so we do have to be mindful in how many that we're putting into our game, as things like the cosmetic mods and the magic mirror here can have some issues in interactions between if you use multiple of the mods. So there is kind of a number, and I'll be going over that in terms of how many you can have. So I have here the Faces of Faerun, pretty decent mod, not like the hugest fan of it. I also have the bangs everywhere and the better hairstyles selections here. These mods all work pretty well without interfering with each other. As you can see there, it says jaws, so it treats these as jaws and chins for the dragonborn. You can only have one of each selected here, so if you're using one, it'll override the other, so make sure that you're just using two of those. One of each, the jaw and the chin, so that's nice that they both work together. Also with eye color mods, I found that only really one of them works at a time, so just go with whatever one you found works best for you. And yeah, I also have issues with other things like body art not appearing, but for the most part, when it comes to mods, if you have ones that are very similar, they will cause interactions with each other. So things like extra subclasses can bring some issues up too. So I use just a few classes. There's not too many in the mod manager so far, like the Mystic class and the expansion to the Mystic, and also things like the Dark Ranger and the Witch here. These all work pretty independent of each other. Typically they won't cause issues between having different classes, but where issues can arise is in using multiple subclasses. So I have typically about 8 maximum for a certain subclass. Like I have 8 different monk subclasses, barbarian and fighter subclasses. Adding more from the mod manager does end up causing some issues, but I know it's possible, so just be mindful. A big tip here for best practice: always make sure that you're adding a few mods at a time to see if there's interactions. Because you can see here, we got 9 subclasses for the Mystic. This is with the Mystic expanded. An incredible mod, by the way. Probably the best subclass and class mod in this game so far for mods. But this does have level 14 leveling. And I do have some issues with that, which I'll talk about briefly here. But when it comes to the mod manager, you got to be mindful. And using a few mods at a time seems to work best because there are interactions between them. And I have done upwards of 70 or 80 mods. I'm going to push 100 mods here soon just to see if I have any more issues to report on and kind of give some solutions for those issues. But when you look to the mod manager, one of the things I was talking about yesterday is if you have save files with mods, it's going to bring them back from the dead. So you can see here, we don't have this one activated, the Celestial Warlock. I have a save file that does, so it's going to continually keep bringing it back as an installed mod, but it'll disable it. So if you want to get rid of the mods from here, you're going to have to delete any of the save files that have those mods built into them, and then you can kind of move it around from there. So another thing when it comes to modding is you got to be mindful of the load order. So there's actually a few mods that allow you to change it. The mod manager fixes and tweaks. These mods are great because you can see this little arrow here. You can now, with this, move the load order around. So some mods do have to go in a specific load order if you're using them external to Baldur's Gate 3's mod manager. I'm not aware of any that are built into the mod manager yet that do require you to have them in a specific load order, but the community library always has to be at the top. So if you're using this from external Nexus mods, this is a bunch of different data for different classes. This one always has to be number 1 in the load order, and you can see there the little exclamation mark. It's an external mod. In addition, you always have to have the compatibility framework being the lowest one if you're using any classes. You can see here I have a bunch of different 5e classes for a variety of different subclasses, from fighter, barbarian, and warlock, etc. This has to be below them. So in between, that's where you're putting all your classes. I do have some that go outside of it, so you can see the Celestial Warlock there. That still works because it's through the Baldur's Gate 3 mod manager itself. So being mindful of your load order is important, but again, you can use the mod manager fixes and the tweaks to be able to adjust your mod load. So if you need to adjust the load order, typically mods will tell you where they need to be loaded in from. I know there's a big thing in Skyrim and Fallout modding is the load order was extremely important because you had to have certain things first. The nice thing with this is if you go and you could just spam install all of these, they're likely all going to have work no issues, unless there's issues within the mod itself. But yeah, just be mindful of the mods you're using. This little exclamation mark here means you need to update the mod, so whenever that pops up, you just go through simply and just update them. It doesn't take too long to do, which is really nice. I find that these downloads work very quickly. I have 2.6 gigs of mods already downloaded in here. Some of them I don't use a whole lot, so I do recommend cleaning up some mods if you don't find you're using them often. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Faces of Faerun, so uninstalling that got me a whole gigabyte of memory usage back. So yeah, the thing is too, whenever you uninstall them, you got to be mindful they're not in any save files that you currently have, so you will have to delete them. But as far as finding mods, I think that this works well, although you can't go, if you see here we got to page 9, if we try to go to page 10, it brings us back to page 1. So really the best way to overcome this is actually to just click on like specific ones, and for the most part most of these don't have 9 pages yet, so I'm hoping there's going to be a fix addressed from either Larian or a mod to address that, because we do have some mods that fix the mod manager itself. So stay tuned, there'll probably be some fixes for that, because I know that's one of the biggest things that's bothering some people. Another thing I've been getting a lot of comments on, and I want to help out with this, is people are not able to find these search filters on the side. The unfortunate thing is, so far, it only works in English, so you may have to change your language to be in order to search by this, because, again, you can only look at so many mods down the bottom, so to be able to access this, it's on the English mod itself. I don't know if any of these will help correct that. I don't speak other languages, so I don't want to mess that up. So it does cause some issues there. That is one thing to be mindful of. If you use English, I know Brazilian, a lot of people from Brazil were talking that they're having issues with this, so I do speak a little bit of French, but I haven't heard any issues. But it could be for a variety of different languages, you don't get access to this. However, this does have great options for finding whatever type of mod that you want to find. So if you're looking for equipment or for quality of life, there's actually quite a few quality of life ones. I recommend getting the ones from Kate's. Did a great job with making a lot of these that work very well with each other. So highly recommend going with those. And yeah, a lot of the quality of life ones are great. We don't have that many race spells or class mods yet, but obviously some more to come. But just be mindful of your interaction between them, as some may cause some issues. Like there are for if you're going with like certain face paint or even eye makeups. I do know that these, you can only, it'll say on it, only one AIO file can be used at a time. So some of these you can't use multiple at a time. So just be mindful, read the descriptions, because some of them do have interactions with each other. So in order to make sure that they aren't getting any, issues between them, just read the descriptions, as there's going to be new mods coming out every hour, and those mods may interact with some of your previously held mods. So again, go with about 3 to 4 mods at a time, load into your game, try some things out. I know some people are having issues with even the Druid's wild shape not summoning in a bunch of, when they leveled up, they were only getting a few of their options instead of all the options. So sometimes a simple mod that you may not know is impacting something, like the Abysmal Smite here with Spyro could be impacting the Druid, or it could impact the Bard. So go through, use your favorites just to be safe, on the safe side of things. Also, big best practice is back up your saves. I'll be putting a link in the comments and in the description on how to back up your saves. I highly recommend that you do that, because there's nothing worse than losing your saves and having nothing to show for it. So if you have a backup physically, you can always bring those back into the game if something were to happen. So I would recommend going with one without mods first, with if you have characters that you're already playing with. Save them without the mods, and then you can go in and test them. I highly recommend testing mods out multiple times and making sure that you really like the mod first before keeping it in the game, as you may not end up liking what you have there. So it's better to be able to remove them without having all the issues that come with removal. So yeah, if you do need to remove them, you have to delete the save files that they're loading into. Otherwise, you'll get this here where they just continually pop back up. You can see now it's at the bottom. So yeah, make sure you really like the mods first. Make sure there's no interactions between them, and you'll have a good time modding in Baldur's Gate 3. So again, as with any of these videos, if you have questions, I try to respond to them as quick as possible. So feel free to leave comments below if you're curious or wondering about anything related to mods. I'm not an expert, but I can figure it out, and I've had a lot of comments in the past where people have given different solutions for problems that may have popped up. So pretty good resource in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button below as well if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.